A couple of weeks ago, my local hobby shop went out of business, and as part of their sale, I bought this, a Lehigh Valley RS-2 made by Walther's Mainline. I picked this up for $125 and it was on sale from $170. A couple of days after I picked this up, I went to an antique show near my house and I found this for $5. This is a Model Power RS-2 made sometime in the 80s. For reference, this was made sometime probably in the late 2010s-ish. So today I'm going to compare and contrast these two models from that one's from $5, the other one cost me $125, and we are going to see which one is the better model. Now, to start off, we're first going to talk about the detail and the molding quality. Now, something I noticed on these older model powers are just how chunky the details are. Especially, you can notice it right up front here with this grill. It is very, like, the border of it is very thick, while the inside of it's kind of just soft. Like, you can hardly see it separated, like it's cut down. But on this Lehigh Valley unit, you can tell a lot clearer that it's a grill. You can tell. Another detail that just looks very cheap on the model power is the handrails. On the Lehigh Valley unit, they're very thin, very scale accurate. While on the model power Conrail unit, they're fat. Look how thick those handrails are. Also, something I noticed just looking at it are the tops of these two models is the different positionings of the exhaust vents. The model power one, it's very like it's off this to the side and it's like the long way down the long hood. While on the Walther's mainline one, it is right there in the center and going like horizontally to the long hood. Now, at first I thought this was just a kind of difference between like the real life units, like Lehigh Valley 214, I believe, is a real unit. But then I looked up, and I don't think Conrail even owned any RS2s. So this is more just a problem with the molding. This isn't an accurate model. The last kind of things I want to point out is on the Lehigh model specifically. The only thing I really fault this model on, especially given its price point, is that it does not have cab detail. If you look in there, you can just see part of the circuit board. This right here is a Providence and Worcester -9 that I picked up at the same time I picked this up, and it has a fully detailed cab. It even has people sitting inside it, if you can't see that. And I think that for how much this cost, it should also have detail in there. But I digress. The last thing I really want to point out is the feel, and this is mainly because of how heavy these are. This model, for being an older model power, is actually pretty heavy. It's a decent weight, but the Lehigh Valley Walther's mainline unit is even heavier. This entire bottom detail, the tanks and all this part, solid metal. The entire chassis is also solid metal. The body itself is plastic, but the chassis more than makes up for that. On this entire bottom section is just a piece of molded plastic screwed into the bottom. So that and the real last thing I'm going to point out are, just look at the fronts. The model power came with the old horn hooks, which were they were common back then, and the Walther's mainline came with the newer KD style couplers. And look how chunked out this entire front section is. There's nothing here. This is so it can swivel well, I guess, and that's just not needed on the Lehigh Valley, and that's because on the model power, the coupling's part of the bogie, but on the Lehigh Valley, Walther's Mainline, it's part of the actual like body. All right. So now that I'm done sort of criticizing and pointing out all the detail difference between these two, let's take these both over to the test track and give them a run. Now that we're down at the test track, we will start with the Conrail unit, I think. Yeah. So let's just give this a bit, let's just start this off. Let's just give it a bit of juice. That's about 20. And it's cut out at the curved points, which are a bit of a dead zone over there. All right, that's 35 on the controller. And yeah, it runs pretty healthily. It does kind of stutter a little bit. It's pretty noisy. I don't know if you can properly hear this. Let me get the mic a little closer to the track. Yeah, it's a noisy unit, but you know what? It's decent. It's a decent runner. Let's do the other way. Also, notice the lights. The front light burns all the time, even in reverse, and the back light never burns. So I think the last thing to do is the slow crawl test. That's about as slow as it will go. It's not sounding too happy, but once again, I don't think you can hear that on the mic. That's at 20. That's as slow as it can go. All right. Round of applause for the Conrail Model Power RS-2. Now for the Lehigh Valley Walther's Mainline RS-2. All right, giving it some juice. Look at that. Look at that. That is a nice unit. Let me just put the microphone against the track again. It's nice and quiet. Let's watch it go over that dead point. Not even a stutter. Lights burning much brighter than the Conrail. Much quieter. That's about the same speed as it was on the Conrail. Both of them are pretty well geared. The Conrail does run a lot more chunkily, but I'd say they run about the same speed. All right, let's see how the backlight is. Yeah, this unit has directional lighting as kind of standard for most newer models. Let's see, take those track points over there. Yeah, so there you go. That is both units run. All right, let's take it back to the bench. All right, well, we've seen both of them run. We've looked over all their details and the quality. So what's my verdict? Is the Lehigh Valley unit worth $120 more than this Conrail? I'd have to say yes. It's worth it. It's better quality. It's got more crisp molding. It's got all the bells and whistles, bar from a detailed cab that you'd expect on a modern locomotive. It's nice. I've had it for about a month. I've never had any derailing issues or anything of that type of nature. But I do think that if you were to just pick one up to say modify or customize, I'd pick up an old a model power. They're cheap, they're easy to access, and these things, there's not a lot of tech going on. As you saw when I showed the Lehigh Valley's cab, a there's a circuit board. So it makes it kind of hard to kind of modify, kind of do what you want. And I think that's very important in this hobby, is that sort of customizability. So while I would recommend, if you just want one to have, I'd recommend the Walthers. But if you want one to modify, to break apart, do whatever you want, maybe kit bash, I'd suggest a model power. All right, thank you for watching this video. I hope to do more of this sort of model stuff soon. Yeah, have a good one.